Vedius, we're sitting here. I've got a little mini Vedius on my shoulder screaming nocturne mid. We've heard some whispers of that thing. You're shaking your head at me, but what would it take for that flex to become a reality?
Aurelia mid lane. That's the counter pick I hear is you play Aurelia mid and Nocturne mid supposedly does super well into it. I'm still not sold until I see it in action, but from some duo games with Vedius, it's been all right. He's sitting in a comfortable D4 at the moment.
Well, let's see how it pans out. Of course, we will expect that to be in Maxlore's hands. The opposite jungler to this expected Nocturne is that Kindred. Kold's got that locked in. Totoro's got his Rakan, so already got some playmaking and big smiles on the faces of Maxlore and Sencux, looking pretty comfortable and happy despite that one loss to their name. And Orianna, very popular pick over the LCK.
Yeah, LCK has loved this champion, and the big change actually came back in 8-13. 2 seconds cooldown were taken off the W at all ranks, so give it a little bit more laning presence, and it's always been such a safe pick in the middle lane as well. It gives you a lot of flexibility in how you want to build out the rest of your team comps, and when you pair it up with something like a Nocturne, that ball delivery system is going to be absolutely deadly. On
the condition they don't go out of that tether range.
That's true.
So we'll see how well that works. Definitely one of the more difficult combos to coordinate, just because of the range of the darkness engage. Xayah Rakan combination is completed. Zoe was not a high priority for phase 1 of the draft. Would you ban it if you were Misfits?
Ooh, I still think I would, even though I think the Orianna does fairly well into that pick. Once you get the Lost Chapter, you can clear waves relatively easily. I also think that it's important to note the early priority on Rakan by the Unicorns of Love, because that has been one of, if not Mikyx's best champions so far this split, making all those plays happen. And by taking him off a playmaker, putting him on the Morgana, that's going to limit a bit of the impact out of the Hansama Mikyx duo.
Okay, well, let's see, what else gets enabled? Because one benefit of the Xayah Rakan is just all of that laning strength. So if UOL and Kold can spend some time around that lane, there's maybe options to play with. You can see Exileh sitting on that teleport. Reminder, 8:14 changes to the cooldown on teleport. So you've really got to make sure that when you use that cooldown, especially in the early game, you get something from it, because the opportunity cost of not having it available could be so much greater.
Yeah, you'll so often see, especially in other regions, top laners never teleporting back to their lane. They want to hold on to that to make plays across the map. And the top lane is another lane that's a little interesting to me personally. After I see the Gnar ban, I definitely recognize that these players are watching the LCK. A lot of Gnar top lane, Kennen top lane as well. And I'm curious to see if either of these two top laners want to go for a more aggressive split push style approach.
I certainly hope so. It gives us something a little more exciting to watch. And that Zoe you alluded to all the time ago, and has been locked in. 1 and 3 on the pick. That's Exileh. Despite looking good on the champion, not really picking up all the wins that UOL are looking for. So how do Misfits round this team composition out? We're still looking for some sort of ADC. We know Hansama has mentioned in the past already.
Oh, they actually played the Draven Morgana bottom lane all the way back the first game of the split against Fnatic. I didn't think I was going to see it today, but I love this. This goes back to the Misfits style where they draft a heavy kill lane bottom lane. You land a binding as Morgana with a Draven at your side, you are going to be picking up kills down there. And the only last thing they need to lock in is a self-sufficient top laner for Alphari. Something like the Ornn would be perfect.
And it is, in fact, locked in. So what it looks to be a fairly traditional type of team composition here. Maybe without the Draven Morg.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Misfits tried and true, right? Like, the Nocturne a little bit new, the Orianna hasn't been seen so far in EU, but top to bottom, it feels like a Misfits-style draft all the way through.
All right, talk to me about the how this draft will play out. I see some obvious strengths in that Morgana Draven. Obviously, the Ornn TP and engages can work now. The Poppy on the other side. So what do both team compositions want to do? How do they unlock the victory in this game?
Yeah, if we're looking at the side of Misfits, it's 100% going to be Maxlore playing around the bottom lane. There's not a lot of gank threat there pre-level 6 on the Nocturne, but he's going to want to keep Hansama and Mikyx safe because they're going to be trying to put down so much pressure and build up a massive advantage down here in this bottom lane. And then once the mid-game rolls around, get that Orianna, get that Nocturne, start comboing people down to 0 HP.
All right, we'll see whether or not Sencux's shockwaves can land. I believe the only other Orianna that's run this summer was Selfie a couple weeks back. And of course, going to go to that default. On the other side, Unicorns of Love, not really a huge front line, really just that Poppy, but they've got a lot of damage, a lot of poke. Well, it feels like multiple options for Engage, you know, with that Rakan and Poppy that can come in from multiple flanks if they get the opportunity. Yeah,
they definitely have the tools to start off fights. I always love seeing Kold on that Kindred. It's a pick he was talking about so much in the first few weeks of the LCS. Now that he's gotten to play it, he's gone for it so many times and is really the player you look towards on the Unicorns of Love to get stuff happening and carry the team.
Okay, so expectations then. Now we know how the teams are going to be unlocked. You can see the draft on your screen. Guys, jump onto Twitter and throw up those hashtags MSF win, hashtag UOL win. And one last time, shout out to Sencux. Make sure you get well soon. We'll see you back on stage sooner than later, I'm sure. All right, turn my attention back to the game. I also have some exciting news because on 8/14, the World Champions Samsung Galaxy new skins dropped.
Ooh.
And the lovers are wearing them.
That is awesome. I love it. You got the little signatures in there as well.
It's extremely important because as many people who watched last week's show may remember, I did some deep dives into skins and noticed Nukeduck didn't wear any. You know?
Yeah, it's
so
important.
It is important, so I'm very aware of it. And of course, there they are. All right, so let's talk about this lane matchup now. Draven and Morgana both running the teleport along with Alphari. So it's 3 on the side of Misfits. This leans into what Orianna was saying earlier, helping the lanes out. What is the signal to you? Because they're going up against the Cleanse Ignites.
Exactly. So Hansam and Mikyx, we already said it. You want to land bindings, you want to push, you want to get kills in this lane, and you want to stay in lane for as long as possible. That's why they're taking the teleports, because then they can shove out the waves. Once they're sitting around 1,000, 2,000 gold, they can recall and teleport back onto the map. And one added minute of cooldown isn't going to stop that from being a viable strategy, whereas Neon on the other side, he wants the cleanse so he doesn't die against this 2v2.
Well, I got the fear, got from Maxlore's Nocturne, obviously those dark bindings that feel like they last forever. Morgana Qs are just painful, obnoxiously painful to deal with. And we need to see whether or not Hansam and Mikyx can take over, because the last time we saw this lane, they obliterated Fnatic. It was, I really don't like using this word, but it was disgusting.
Yeah, no, it really was. Like, we're talking 2v2 turret dives underneath that bottom lane turret. That was also one of the games where Rekos was like, I'm not sure I want to be playing these supports against players like Hansama, where he really did take the reins and prove himself as the best bot laner in the league.
He did. And talking about Hansama, he mentioned last week in an interview with the Shot Caller that he has had a lot less impact in recent weeks. And if the meta stays the way that it does, then he'll start to pick up mages. Now, Draven's as far from a mage as you can get, but he's looking to replicate that impact.
Yeah, because when you look at the stats, it really has been a little bit of a decline. I mean, weeks 1 through 3, he was an absolute beast in the bottom lane, and his stats still look all right in weeks 4 and 5. It's just not that same level of impact as he was mentioning. And a lot of that comes down to some laning mistakes. Haven't been able to press their advantage quite so hard. And going back to champions like the Draven and the Morgana, give them the opportunity to do so.
Exactly. Dark Binding connects on the Totoro. That's an early flash at 2.5 minutes. And that means Totoro is just going to be easy pickings if Mikyx can find another skill shot.
Yeah, so remember when I was talking about landing Dark Bindings and then getting kills in the bottom lane? That's really easy, especially when you get that level 2 advantage. And you'll notice that Totoro is not running the cleanse. That means that the next time he gets hit, it very well may be a death.
And of course, because Totoro is backed away, very low on HP, it unlocks Mikyx to come up, help set up this Rift Scuttler for Maxlore. So he's going to get his hands onto that one. I think UOL got the top Scuttler though, so at least it's 1 for 1. And Kold is back in his jungle, picking up his Sentinel.
Yeah, the difference between the two is that actually Maxlore looking for a gank in the mid lane.
Oh, the Dustbringer actually tags him. Maxlore flashes in, and that's going to be a reply flash from Exileh. They're not going to be able to do much past that Shroud of Darkness, and Maxlore escapes. I think the Paddle Star was just short as well. But again, early flashes blown in favor of Misfits. They've got the early lead.
This is really important, though, as another binding lands in the bottom lane, because now Exileh won't have the flash when level 6 comes around for Orianna. That means a very easy repeat will be available around that 6-7 minute mark for Maxlore.
Oh man, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Totoro forced to dash away using the full kit. Luckily, there's a lot of mobility on Rakan, but it feels like if you blink, you might just miss first blood. Hansama and Mikyx already 5 and a bit CS up, and they're going to apply pressure under the tower. So see how many of these Neon is going to miss.
Yeah, I mean, Mikyx on this Morgana, the Dark Bindings look like they're almost heat-seeking right now on towards Totoro. They're all connecting for the most part and putting so much pressure underneath this bottom lane turret. And for a bottom lane that's typically so good in the 2v2, Rakan, known as one of the best bottom lanes across regions, you just get absolutely destroyed by a Draven Morgana.
And it's really exciting. It is Summer's Draven. It is one of his signature champions, one of the champions that he made his name on back when he was still playing in the Challenger Series, it feels like a very long time ago. And of course, that means that Summer's got the lead. He's already a wave and a half up. Neon's going to do his best to pick up these last hits, forced to use those double daggers. Will do so, and here's the first teleport to the bottom lane.
Exactly. You push out the wave entirely, and you never give Neon a chance to recall here. He comes back with a Vampiric Scepter. That means he's going to keep sustaining, while Neon is on 50% HP, below 50% mana. The lane matchup is not going to get any easier moving forward.
No, it will not. And Misfits, they can just keep, twisting that pressure dial to unlock the lead. Of course, there's some of the patch notes on 8.14. Changes. Oh, look at this, Summer. Oh. What are you doing? Goes in, manages to flash for the kill. Summer, that was beautiful.
That was insane out of Summer. He knows Neon doesn't have a heal, doesn't have a barrier, goes straight underneath that turret with the flash forward. This is week 1 Summer back in form.
Man, that was fantastic work. First blood bonus plus ADCX and sends Neon packing.
Well, I mean,
I'll hold that thought because Sencux is looking to do a solo kill onto Exileh. Command attack tags him on the back end. And it's just such confident play underneath the tower.
Man, actually just crazy stuff out of Sama. And you don't usually think of teleport as a combat summoner spell, but when it means you get to spend 1,200 gold more than your opponent and keep them on low HP, it definitely gives you opportunities to go ahead and make plays like that.
And that gives Misfits a 1,300 gold lead at 5 minutes. We haven't touched too much elsewhere, but if you see the gold difference, 1,000 up already for Summer, so that is 400 shy of his entire team's advantage.
Yeah, that's not just the first blood either. That's the CS lead he actually carved out in this matchup. And you notice Kold already playing towards this bottom side. He wants to may have impact.
All right, let's see what Kold can do. Dance of Arrows over the wall. Summer tried to step out of that hero's entrance. Now Summer trying to get one in reply. Gets shut down. Kold with an answer to Summer's Draven.
It's fantastic gank timing there from Kold too, because he knows Summer was just coming back into lane. Misfits didn't have time to put down any vision, and we'll try to get Neon back into this race for first AD item for that Stormrazor.
All right, seeing whether or not Neon can catch up in relevancy. Kill being secured by Kold, that is an advantage. I want to see if he got the mark done. I believe that he did. Didn't quite see if he'd actually tagged Summer or not. And Mikyx, I think he's going to aimbot on because I don't think I've seen him miss a Dark Binding yet.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit crazy. Now, I remember back in playtest, there used to be a rune that was floating around that was actually a heat-seeking missile, and it was broken on Morgana. Mikyx doesn't actually need that because when they land, it makes plays happen. But again, Kold, fantastic timing on him to make this play work out in the bottom lane.
And of course, Summer flashless because he used it to go for that tower dive. It did secure first blood. Now, obviously, because of the Draven Xayah matchup, we've been very heavily focused on the bottom lane. You can see Alphari and WhiteKnight. It's a tank battle up top. Both of them have used teleport to lane. It's a minor CS difference, but we're really waiting for them to scale up and become more tanky before they look to impact the map.
Yeah, there are some interesting nuances in this matchup, though, specifically on the side of Poppy, because she can use her, say, W to stop Alphari from ramming the Forge God backwards. He can also use Ornn's own pillar to wall slam him into and get that stun. So there's some interesting things specifically looking for the impact of WhiteKnight to shut down the Ornn engage in team fights later on.
All right, gonna take a lot of time to set that one up though. So we'll keep an eye on how that plays out. I noticed Maxlore lingering around that mid lane. And Exileh is 15 CS behind already. Remember that Maxlore jumped into that lane for an early gank, and Exileh was forced to use both of his summoners at a very early stage. And when we look at the two players and how they match up against one another, Sencux is having a career-defining split. KDA difference is phenomenal. Kill participation, gigantic differences. Obviously, the graphic is swapped for now, so Sencux on the left, Exileh on the right. But what I think is very interesting is both of these players were considered the same tier at this time last year.
Yeah.
And now Sencux might just be in the running for one of, the best mid laners in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing absolutely incredibly so far in this split. And yeah, Misfits have also been doing really well, but Misfits would not be the rank 1 team in Europe if it wasn't for Sencux's amazing performances on champions like the Yasuo. He was really flexible at the start of this split, which was a really nice thing to see out of him. When last split, you look at him to play the Taliyah, the Aurelion Sol, roam, help your team. Now you can put resources into him, and he will carry the game.
Yeah, and has done so significantly. So Sencux, this time around, a little bit more on that scaling champion in Orianna. Not going to have the game-changing moments right now. And Exileh, on the other hand, he's going to be playing this poke game. He's got the Sorcerer's Shoes and a stopwatch already. Still got a couple of stacks on that minion dematerializer. And both teams are just pretty content moving into this mid-game. It's nearly 10 minutes on the clock. The problem for UOL is they're already 2,000 gold down, and Maxlore hasn't got involved yet. His Paranoia can relatively easily combo with any of these lanes, and that means there's some kills on the horizon if Misfits can coordinate effectively.
Yeah, I was a little surprised not to see him visit that mid lane while the flash was still down from Exileh, although from his current pathing alongside Mikyx, they may be looking for a play just here in the mid lane if Kold or Exileh step a little bit too far forward here.
Let's take a look what's happening now. Maxlore gonna wait for the Paranoia, jumps right on top of Exileh, defensive flash away. Luckily, Kold was in range with that Lamb's Respite, if necessary, not blown this time.
Yeah, I actually think Kold read that play entirely. He knew Mikyx had recalled in the bottom side of the map, and it's so common to see supports try to make a gank play in the mid lane after that recall. So he ran straight down the mid lane to have the Lamb's Respite in case Exileh needed it in that play.
Again, just managing to keep finding the targets, and that can be huge. If Kold is able to throw that thing down after a shockwave, you know, prevent anybody going down, extend that team fight, and obviously UOL can use that additional time to turn things around. Kold's looking for another opportunity in the bottom lane, but a Dark Binding connects. Hunsummer forward, already got a kill on the board. Hunsummer's not done yet, turns his attention to Neon. Blade Call is pulled backwards and Mickey's rooted in place, and Kold is like, nope, peace out, I don't want to fight this Hunsummer with the BF sword and Vamp sword.
Yeah, he's like trying to come in for a gank, then all of a sudden his bot lane dies. Like, no, just a little bit too early right there, Totoro. And this becomes such an awkward position to be in as the Kindred, because when you're playing Kindred, you want winning lanes so you can go farm those camps and get those marks for you. If your lanes are losing, you just can't really have an impact on the map.
12 minutes on the clock. Kold has himself 1 mark to his name, so not going to be able to secure that. It looked like Maxlore just picked up that Rift Herald as well. And Ender, I want to play a quick game with you. At 11 minutes and 30 seconds, with a Draven that's doing things like this, when we come out of the replay, predict for me the gold lead that Hunsummer
Okay, that'll be a fun little game right here, because he's doing a lot of damage in that trade. I'm going to guess 2,100 gold.
You are just shy. 1,900 gold Hunsummer has. He's got a 12-minute Bloodthirster already, and he's going up against the BF Sword pickaxe of Neon.
But you see, if he'd used his teleport to get back to lane, then he'd have that 2,100 gold lead, and it all would have worked out. It was his mistake, not mine.
Okay, there we go. I really like the clarification. All of that experience on the game's testing side, knowing what the optimal plays are. This time around, the teleport from Mickey is going to be helping out Alphari. I think he managed to sidestep as well. Just get out of range of one of those skill shots. A lot of minions now being cleared out. The tower's no longer under pressure. Exileh is going to be looking for a solo kill. Sencux steps forward. That's definitely over-baited. Maxlore's in range, though, and Sencux playing on the edge of safety. Tower first blood picked up by Hunsummer, uncontested, and there were some question mark pings thrown when Sencux moved forward.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that one. Sencux read it like a book, apparently didn't die, but now diving top.
All right, Mickey misses his first Dark Binding of 13 minutes. Not really fair when Totoro can fly to safety, but it still counts. Misfits extend their lead. They extend the gold lead, 4,000 at 13 minutes, and the #1 team in Europe is already off to a flying start.
That gold lead in the bottom lane just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger with that solo gold Hunsummer was able to pick up from that bottom lane turret. Bringing it back to the mid lane, though, you can still see, even down in CS here as Exileh, Zoe is still an insanely strong champion. It fell down to 4th pick in the draft, which was crazy, and even from behind can still put out damage like that onto Sencux.
I mean, I stand to be corrected, but I was seeing some numbers that Zoe may be the #1 mid laner worldwide since her release. If you aggregate all the leagues, you aggregate how many times she's been picked and played, It's just that safe poke and the ability to set up plays with a Sleepy Trouble bubble. The versatility it offers you is so difficult to ignore, but then Exileh needs to do it. He has to find those skill shots to get UOL back into this game.
Yeah, there's one truth that will always be there in professional League of Legends. It's long range engage. Safety in engage is so powerful. Sejuani ultimate, a great tool in that regard. Morgana binding, Zoe Sleepy Bubble Trouble. All these tools where you don't have to put yourself at risk to make a play are always going to be so strong and pro.
Yeah, of course, that's what UOL need to make use of. I mean, look at the CS numbers. Every single lane is behind. WhiteKnight is behind Alphari, around 25 CS. Around 14 in the mid lane for Exileh. Around 34 in the bottom lane. That's before you factor in the kills in the Tower First Blood. And I was looking at the minimap a moment ago. Neon was trying to hold that top lane against Hansama. And Hansas just pushed their wave in. There was some support from Mikyx, and Neon was forced to back away. Probably to save his life, but I think because of the fact that Duo for Misfits is up top, UOL gets some uncontested time, a lot of information here for Misfits to work with, but Dragon should go to UOL.
Here's my concern though, right now Unicorns of Love are actually making him play topside.
All right, take a look. Mikyx, Black Shield did so much work. Paranoia comes down, Exileh is blown up where he stands. Unicorns are at least able to get a Dragon, some late game insurance, but here comes Hansama, the Whirling Death, not able to pick up a kill, and the Featherstorm is sidestepped. Now Hans turns his attention to Totoro. Totoro's able to escape with his life. The Rift Herald helps take down the mid tower, and Misfits aren't done yet. A boop on the inner turret drops that to 50%, and Hansama, with the help of Alphari, take tower number 3. 7,000 gold at 15.5 minutes. This is Europe's best team in action.
Misfits just blew open the entire game in a period of 30 seconds. They're going to be taking a second turret, the inner turret in this top lane as well. The gold lead was just marginal for the first 15 minutes. At 16 minutes, it's broken entirely.
It's really beautiful to see the individual performances that Misfits can put down. Maxlore hasn't necessarily gotten involved, but let's hold that thought as Totoro's going to dash forward, gets a Gleaming Quill onto Alphari.
You sure you want to take that fight, Totoro?
I'm not sure he does. There is some backup coming from Neon. We're going to follow this fight as it breaks out. Alphari decides to turn attention. Call of the Forge God was available, but not used just yet. By the way, 16-minute rapid fire cannon just completed.
Yeah, there's so many things that go poorly here for Unicorns. Exileh, of course, he has to go back, and that sets up for the Orianna to land the Shockwave. But in top lane at the same time, because of the duration of the darkness from Nocturne, it stopped the engage from Neon on Totoro that was going well, actually split them up, and let Hansama dive underneath that turret. And if you were looking at the minimap as well, there was like 4 minion waves building up for Unicorns of Love to collect in the bottom lane that all died to the tower because everyone was trying to react to that play in the mid lane.
Oh, it's losing that experience and that goal. It just makes it even more difficult. Totoro looks for the flash engage, manages to find one. Command Protector's board sometime. Shockwave catches 2. Paranoia blocks all the vision. Sencux escapes with his life, but Lamb's Respite buys some time. Here comes Hansama. Throws down the Blood Rush and the Whirling Death. Exileh gets tagged once and twice. A spinning axe and the help from Misfits. It's a 2-for-2 thus far. Totoro and WhiteKnight are split up and running for their lives. Unicorns will be happy to get a couple of kills, but Sencux is trying to chase down Totoro. Looking at the minimap, Neon running for his life from Hansama. Then Axe is spinning. Stand aside! Featherstorm used just to block the knock-up, and Hansama unable to chase him down. 4-1, 180 CS.
That was the best case situation right there for the Unicorns, though. They take the fight, they trade evenly. That's all they need to be doing here at the moment. Still, though, you can see they put so much effort into just getting that kill.
Yeah.
It's a little unfortunate they couldn't get a little bit more than that. Again, putting all the resources onto Sencux, who actually survives, and you can see they're hesitant to go forward because of the darkness there from Maxlore that buys time for the rest of Misfits to get there and end up trading 2-for-2 because of how strong Hansama is.
Terrifying fight, and there was just no real damage under Sencux despite being tagged and sort of caught. 3 members on top of him. It took far too long to get any sort of HP chip away. Now, as a quick update, this is an in-game pause. It looks like it's on the UOL side. Just as we loaded up that replay, the moment I hear a little bit more, we'll let you know. And I mean, just looking at the faces, you know, Neon, it's tough to be this far behind and to be this badly crushed.
I mean, if you just look at the items, it's a it's a Bloodthirster and a Rapid Fire Cannon for Hansama against a BF Sword and a Pickaxe for Neon. It's 2 completed items versus 2 literal components. That is rough.
Yeah. Thrift store shopping versus high street brands. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Now, Ender, hypothetically, right, if this were in the QA games testing world and you were testing playing from behind, is this a fair gold lead and item advantage to test what it would be like playing from behind a Xayah Rakan?
So this is what we'd call a little bit of a snowballed game here. And if you're Hansama and you're a good playtester, this is where you start holding gold. Because you get no value out of walking up to someone and auto-attacking them 3 times and them dying. So you hold on to like 2k gold. You keep it relatively even. Because right now, yeah, he's literally doubling his gold. It's 10,000 to 5,000. That's probably not all right for a playtest if you're trying to see how balanced things are.
Okay, now this isn't a playtest. And when we turn our attention to the LCS stage, what is Hansama actually going to do?
Spend all of his money and start killing people.
Crush some kids, I think, is a pretty fair analogy. And look at this. Misfits completely grouped up, uncontested on this bottom inner turret. WhiteKnight does not want to stick forward. And if you look at the mini-map, all of the vision for Misfits is protecting this play. Maxlore can jump in at a moment's notice with that paranoia when it's available. It's on cooldown right now, so he could have in a few seconds' time. But it's 5 towers to 0, and the only objective UOL have picked up is that Mountain Dragon, and that is it.
Yeah, it's definitely slow going at the moment here for Unicorns. The benefit is that Neon, he finished off his first item. He now has that Storm Razor, which is very important. It finally gets him a little bit closer in terms of damage here with Hansama. And with the changes in the last patch, that total crit damage going up fully after just 30% crit chance means that you're going to get full DPS after just 1 Zeal item. After he gets that Rapid Fire Cannon, it'll be the same as it was when you had 3 items on the last patch.
I mean, that is huge value proposition if your opponent ADC wasn't double your gold value.
That's fair.
Because Storm Razors, Berserker's Greaves, and Attack Speed Dagger going up against Bloodthirster, Rapid Fire Cannon, and BF Sword. I mean, this is the Hansama from weeks 1 and 2. And this is the performance he wanted to have. And you know what? If you go back to the draft, we saw that Rakan locked in early. You just feel like Misfits went, yep, if they go Xayah Rakan, this is what we're going to do, and we'll just destroy them. That's exactly what's happened from Pix and Ban.
Yeah, it's a bottom lane they are clearly practiced with. They played it before here in Europe, and it has looked absolutely deadly. And what do you do? Do you ban Morgana? Do you ban Draven? It doesn't really feel like you have those options when you're playing against such a talented duo.
Yeah, definitely the case. And talking about talented duos, talented matchups, match of the week, game 5, end of the day today, Fnatic versus Schalke. You guys at home, set your alarms, because you'll be able to check things out from the POV stream of Nuke Duck a little bit later today. See whether or not the year of Nuke Duck can survive the curse of the POV stream. Definitely think we have to get our stats team to check out the win-loss records on those POV streams for another time, not right now.
It's a very low win rate, I feel like. It always seems like when the camera's on you, you maybe do some light feeding.
There we go, just some grayscale. You know, people become colorblind maybe, you know, that's how that works. We turn our attention to the items though. It's not only Hansama that's ahead. Luden's Echo's completed on the side of Sencux. We've already picked up that Mikhail's Crucible for Mikyx, so if anything sort of catches Hansama out, he can easily get out of it. And of course, the Adaptive Helm, Abyssal Mask rather, just picked up by Alphari as well.
And just look at the control Misfits have over this Baron area right now. They've got all this deep vision control wards in the river, making it so that the Unicorns can never step forward and put down vision. And it is very difficult to actually do that when you don't have a really beefy front line over on the side of Unicorns. Actually face checking into brush is so deadly against the high burst damage. You're just going to be loaded onto you when you're hit by a Dark Binding.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody, it's actually ironic, everybody needs to be relatively close to Kold so that his Lamb's Respect can save them. But you don't want to be close together because then the Orianna Shockwave dunks you all. So it's going to be so difficult to play out these team fights. And one of the things we do have to talk about is how do teams get back into the game? And in this scenario, Misfits have to make a mistake for UOL to close the 8,000 gold lead. Dark Binding with a rare miss, but look at that single shot onto Totoro drops him down a little over 30%.
Yeah, for Misfits, it's so much about controlling this mid lane push, because when you push out the mid lane minions, all of a sudden, Unicorns don't have any path to enter into this side of the jungle. They control that brush right to the left there on the side of Hansama, and if the Unicorns ever want to get vision in the river, they have to pass by that bush. That's when you hit them with the Dark Binding, get the pick, and then move into a Baron.
Yeah, absolutely the case. Safe and secure and steady. Misfits, they went undefeated in the first half of the summer split in the first round robin. Dropped that game to Fnatic last week. Really got quite smashed, you know, once the game played out. A very passive play style. Fortunately for Sencux, his Yasuo didn't show up, but this week it's a bounce back. We see confident play from Hansama and Mikyx. Similar play style they've played all week, and Hansama is so far ahead with double BF Sword Bloodthirster. He's just gonna two-man Baron with Alphari.
It's so easy to two-man the Baron. It does so little damage, and Unicorn should know something's going on. Misfits would not willingly give over the bot lane tower.
And the strength of paranoia, the vision denial, UOL simply cannot do a thing. Fantastic, fantastic Baron play. Misfits set up the vision. They pulled back at the right time, and now they've got the Baron-empowered minions just to knock over the rest of UOL's base.
Yeah, they do sacrifice 2 turrets, one in the bottom lane, one in the mid lane for it, but when you think about the overall map control, Misfits are going to be able to get off this. The turrets, they themselves will be able to take down, threatening towards those inhibitors, actually mid.
All right, Black Shield comes out.
Oh!
Shockwave on the backline! Unicorns of Love are running for their lives. Yes, they got themselves a tower. Whirling Death flies out.
Oh!
It manages to take down Totoro. Hansama 5-1, Infinity Edge completed. Unicorns continue to run for their lives. Mikyx, can he land the binding? Summon a heal used by Exileh. And not this time around, but with Baron minions, man down, and all of the Exilehs used, Hansama is just going to take out the rest of this base.
He is just way too strong at this moment. There's still 5 seconds left before Totoro spawns up. This is going to be an inhibitor for Misfits.
We have to look at the gold differences between the teams. Yes, it is 10,000, but throw your eyes down to Hansama. 13,300 to 7,800. Mikyx takes a big chunk there, but it doesn't matter, because the inhibitor's already down, and Hansama's like, I could probably 1v3 this, guys. Just body block a little bit for me. I got this.
Yeah, the scary thing, too, is that Sencux was 1v3. He landed that 4-man shockwave, completely stopped that turret dive. Then it was Hansama stealing all the glory there with the whirling death out of Draven, but they're not going to slow down. They still have all the tools they need to threaten even for another inhibitor.
All right, so Ender, I know you're definitely one of the younger kids that I've ever had to work with, and we've got Orianna, one of the older guys that I've ever had to work with, but that shockwave, that Sencux landed was almost as good as the 3,000 elo shockwave. There's one for the golden oldies who remember it. Nobody in Berlin is nodding. It's probably a 5-year-old call.
Is that a 2012 call or a 2013
I'm
call?
pretty confident it's 2013. Might be 2012, actually.
Yeah, see, because 2013, that would be my era.
I have to ask the rest of the golden oldies on the team, Deficio and Shox, and we'll get that confirmed later. But one final fight here for Unicorns of Love, as they're looking for an engage on the back end, and that's just not going to do it. WhiteKnight is taken down in the back, shut down inside his own jungle. Misfits continue to apply pressure. Look at the mini-map. Misfits can take the top lane tower. There's about 110 minions in the bottom lane moving up. And for Misfits, this could just be the final push.
Yeah, just have Hansama tank the turret. It's no big deal. Misfits are still going strong inside of the base. They can go down into that bottom lane and pick up that massive minion wave to work with here. Feels like it's lights out here for Unicorns.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Misfits will be going 10-1. Unicorns of Love. Gonna be another game down. Their score at the end of this will be 3-8. Hansama does take a Battle Star, and you can see the damage is good. But with Bloodthirster,
okay,
well as Infinity Edge and just that level of burst, it is just too easy. Alphari manages to dash forward, hits the knock up onto Neon, but there's no follow-up. Third inhibitor, now the focus. Dark Binding connects onto WhiteKnight, and while there's some shots being thrown out, WhiteKnight dashes forward, looking for the knockback onto Sencux. I think he tagged a minion, in fact. Ends up being 13,000 gold. There is nothing left of the Unicorns base. It is in shambles. And as I mentioned, 3-8 will be the score for UOL. They've got Giant Splice and Vitality coming up. If UOL want to try and break into that top 6, they simply cannot afford to lose those following games, because this has been a stomping of note against Misfits.
Yeah, the one bright light was that gank from Kold, and then after that, it felt like it was just Misfits through and through. The control over the bottom lane really has just been absolutely fantastic throughout this game. And even at the start of this replay, it looks all right for Unicorns because they get that big chunk onto Hansama. The issue is they're running against the clock. They have to make a play happen, otherwise all those minions will take down the turret, and unfortunately Kold paid the price for that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And paying the price, the ultimate price, going to be the loss on the board very shortly. Just, it's beautiful to watch. And you know, Orianna was asked earlier today on Ready Check, who's going to win Summer? His head says Misfits, and his heart says Fnatic. Last week, Fnatic beat Misfits. But you didn't feel that that was the Misfits that we've been seeing in the 9 other games they've played.
Yeah, in 9, now 10 games so far, they've played absolutely through and through hard in the early game, going in deep, but now we're seeing another flank here from WhiteKnight.
Oh man, Lamb's Respite just to buy some time for Kold. It's not available for the follow-up.
They got him!
Shot comes down. Hansama is out, but the paranoia and the follow-up damage from Misfits is massive. Shockwave is still available. Pull the trigger, Sencux. Not gonna find the opportunity. WhiteKnight takes him down. The caster curse is real. Unicorns of Love finally turn a team fight in their favor. And as I praise them, Misfits turn it back around. Mikyx, Maxlore, and Alphari aren't done yet. Unspeakable Horror will not complete its channel onto WhiteKnight. And with super minions, 2, 4, 6, 8 of them in the base, Unicorns of Love have simply too much to defend. Nexus turret number 1 goes down to the Winions. Nexus turret number 2 taken out by the Winions. And Misfits, with the help of an army, are looking to finish the game. Unicorns of Love trying to slow the game down. Will not be enough. Will not stop Misfits. And the number 1 team holds true.
Man, we were wondering what Misfits we were going to see after the loss against Fnatic, but that was week 1 Misfits all the way. Week 1 Hansama and Mikyx dumpstering down in the bottom lane, and proven once again they're the best bot lane, the best team in the ULCS.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt. Now, of course, taking out the number 9 team, 8-9 team, in a style like that, I think is expected. I think if you are the number 1 team and you're playing against the bottom 2, bottom teams, then you need to have a dominant showing. You need to have clear skill difference, and it just fell apart from the laning phase. Yes, the macro and the map play afterwards was clean and good by Misfits, but simply put, UOL got outclassed on a laning individual level.
Yeah, I mean, top to bottom, every single player of Misfits completely stepped up to the task. Even Sencux in the mid lane, again, this is a guy that got shut down by Caps last week, but comes back on the Orianna, very early priority on that champion for the Misfits, and he's, you know, made it look pretty good. We're going to be seeing more of that.
No doubt about it. Hansama on your screen right now. For people who follow the player of the game standings, Caps currently leads the table with 5 PogChamp awards, and tied for second with 4 apiece is the Year of Nuke Duck, Memento, and Hansama. If he isn't on player of the game, I'm going to be shocked.
Yeah.
And I have a strong feeling that he's probably going to win it. We are going to take a look at some highlights from Hansama on his signature pick. This is brought to you by Ace of Predator.
And of course, this is when he just flashes straight underneath the turret. Neon maybe overstays his boundaries a little bit, but even in this clip, Mikyx is landing the bindings, just shows you that he was not missing in the laning phase. It was absolutely deadly, even when Kold was trying to come in for a gank.
Just such good play. Sencux manages to find the Shockwave. I'm going to call it the 2,600 elo Shockwave. Actually, maybe some of our players don't even know what elo is, now that I think about it.
I know what elo is, and that's what matters.
You're a legacy 2013 player, you know?
I had elo for exactly like 2 weeks.
Well, there we go. You knew the system. But listen, I talked about player of the game. I talked about the fact that Hansama has 4 of them. If you guys are hyped about player of the game as well, go vote. You know where to do it, at LOL eSports. Your choices are Mikyx, Sencux, or probably the winner, Hansama. Go jump onto Twitter and let us know. It's hard not to with that Draven performance.
I mean, if Hansama, we've said it before, if Hansama's on the vote,
I tell you what. If I can sway the vote, and I shouldn't say this, but Mikyx landed all the bindings that let Hansama do what he wanted to do in